Good evening. This is Dr. Reeves here on the continuing topic of grief and loss to get through the holidays. And I wanted to start by saying, as a therapist, I have often seen many clients come into treatment or come into therapy trying to get over a breakup of a relationship, or someone that doesn't want to be with them, or something that happened where they want to rush the process but no, they can't, but want to do what they can to be part of the solution. So I always suggest that they write a goodbye letter, and this is a very appropriate and apropos topic for this evening, because this is I think the 25th year anniversary of the loss of my beloved father. And I miss you, Dad, and I'll see you soon one day. And I know you're always with me as my guardian angel. So there are, when you're getting back to the goodbye letter, if you want to apply something like loss of a loved one, you can. But I'd like to, in this example, in this circumstance, apply loss of a relationship of a breakup. So the first thing you'd ask them is to write down, number one, what kind of feelings you have about this loss. Some people feel a combination of guilt, sadness, hatred, even fantasies of violence, jealousy, helplessness, betrayal, surprise, shock, hurt, cruelty, rage. They might even be suicidal, feeling hopeless, or suffer PTSD from it. They may have some self-loathing or isolation, some kind of failure or suspiciousness over it. In my father's example, he lived a long life. He was a good man. He was a great dad, a good worker, and it was expected because he had been sick for a while with cancer. God rest his soul. So those feelings were not associated with this loss. The second question you might ask, if it's a breakup or a relationship, would be, at the time of the loss, what was I told by others? And this is where you may get some very shocking responses. Some people will say to you, good riddance. Some people will say, they did you a favor, or what a jerk, or you always fought anyway, or nobody can stand you, or get over it. Things will get better now. What a bum. They made a big mistake. Or that you guys were perfect together. I couldn't believe that this happened. I can't believe that this has come to this. Or I never thought you were such a great couple that you wouldn't last forever. So you get all kinds of comments made to you that you may want to hear, may not want to hear, may make you feel better, or make you feel worse. Most people who are not in the field of therapy don't know what to say, so may avoid saying anything to you, or may even avoid you. Don't take it the wrong way, because they're not trained to do so. They're not trained to know what to say. So the next question would be number 3. What kind of other losses were part of this major loss? And these can be topics such as retirement. Retirement, there's good stress and bad stress, and retirement is a good stressor because you're no longer going to work, but you're also thinking, what is my purpose now if I'm not going to go to work every day and sit around the house? Are people going to get tired of me? So that's some things that you might be wondering, what other losses, or maybe financial losses associated with retirement. Vacations, getaways, retirement homes, your job, your self-respect, your confidence, maybe your kids' respect because you're no longer working and you're retired. If it's something like a relationship, you may be losing friends because you had friends and he had friends, and or she had friends and you had friends together, and those people are going to be loyal to the other person. Maybe you're losing a father to your children or a mother to your children, memories of a partner, order and stability in your home. So those are some other associated losses when you're writing the goodbye letter. Because if you do not acknowledge them, bring them out in the open and talk about them, they're not going to go away on their own. Poorly or unresolved grief, when someone has to grieve alone, is what it will result in sometimes, most of the time. And people's judgments can be invalid and abusive. Dates and loss histories also are triggers for being depressed. And when you don't do this type of work, you're and identify. It's easy to identify incomplete losses, ones that still hurt you or are difficult for you to talk about. You start crying about them, so you have not properly grieved this topic. You can look at the significance of your relationship to the person you lost. Some people are closer to others. I particularly was very close to my father. Maybe some people aren't as close to that loved one that you lost, and you might be relatives. Because there's really no rules that can be spent on working on, the time you work on grief. It can take a week or more but you might need to take a break from grieving sometimes as well. You also should look at the positive qualities of the person that's lost, even though you may be angry with them, and it might be a divorce or a breakup, but actually looking at the positive qualities of the person helps tremendously, because you can say, acknowledge them, embrace them, and then say, well, I won't be able to enjoy those anymore, but hating someone and being always angry will keep you stuck in that prison. I think we all know what I'm talking about with that prison. There are also losses associated with your social acceptation, your self-esteem, and in your confidence when you lose someone in your life. So another question you would be, besides the significance of the relationship of that person to you, would be, how do I wish that the relationship had been different? And maybe you don't. Maybe it was, in your eyes, as perfect as it could be. You may ask, do I still want to have these feelings, or are these feelings inaccurate or irrational? Or you might want to reassess where you were responsible versus the other person, because many times people blame themselves for the whole thing, or they blame the other person for the whole thing. But truthfully, there's a little bit of responsibility on both parts. It may be not 50-50, it may be 80-20. But you can look at where you were powerless, or where the other person was powerless over you. So you can make amends, or even, apologize, say you're sorry, or let them off the hook and forgive them. And that's easier said than done, because to what extent do you want to do that? I personally believe that only God can open our hearts to forgiveness. We have to be willing, because it may take years, but once it is there, it happens suddenly. And this is very much misunderstood, because when you are studying forgiveness, very much misunderstood in the field of therapy, because when you are studying the concept of forgiveness, you have to look at what it's all about, and it's best described by what it's not. It's not forgetting. It's not, because if you forget, what is there to forgive? It's not, it's actually giving somebody a gift they don't deserve, and it doesn't really depend on whether or not they accept your forgiveness, because sometimes the forgiveness is just letting go of the desire for revenge, and that's all you can do, especially in the unfortunate case of, if there was a murder in the family or something like that. So, but we're talking about, the norm here, where if it's a breakup of a relationship. So, so forgiveness is best understood by thinking about, it's not making an excuse for anything. It's not making an explanation for anything, because there's no excuse or explanation for some behaviors that people do. And it is not forgetting, and it's, again, willing to let go of the desire for revenge. So, where are the other messages that we would like to have communicated? things that you weren't able to say, because people won't always give you that closure. Some people leave out of your life and they don't say a word, or they suddenly pass away. So there are things that you can actually come out and say, and whether or not you believe they're heard, because I do believe personally that they're heard, communicate them, write them down, and say them to someone or say them out loud. But it's best to do it in a setting, a therapeutic setting, with another person that you trust who will hear you. And are you trying to replace the irreplaceable? Because that's, something we can't do. Okay, so the benefits of this grief work is you will have a new appreciation for your memories. The real losses would be having a impoverished life because you won't do this work. The sadness of who was lost had a unique value in your life, and the sense that the life we have is precious. Your life is important, even though it may be devalued by society for over what happened, but it will help increase your self-esteem. You'll have a new vitality in life. You can live in the present. You'll feel less weighed down and less negative about your thoughts about the past, and how accurate your beliefs are of your past memories, because we don't always remember things the way they always were. It's a passionate experience, and you will be releasing blocked pain, and that will open the way for more positive feelings to be experienced and appreciated. And this progress that you make in bereavement recovery remains with us forever. So again, I would like to say goodnight from Dr. Reeves and say I love you, Dad. You're my heart. And peace out.